Hello and welcome to Leading. My guest on the program today is someone who is well schooled in the tenets and tradition of leadership. He is a lawmaker at the Oyo State House of Assembly, representing Afijio State constituency. But before then, he was Principal Private Secretary to the immediate past Governor of Oyo State, Honorable Seyi Adisa. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation to be on the program today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Now, as someone who has occupied the innermost corridors of power, you will understand the dialectics between the tripartite of leadership, power, and governance. Tell us what that looks like.
You know, I joined politics at a very young age, and I went in with the mindset of learning. And I had a boss that understood how power worked. And so I was able to quickly understand, if you like, the different intrigues, the different interests, the power blocks, and all the different things people necessarily don't see behind the scenes that actually affect what we see. Half of what we see is just, if you like, a tip of the iceberg. A lot goes on behind the scenes. I believe that if you're going to lead, you have to be very strategic. I believe you have to be someone that thinks ahead a lot of time. You have to plan ahead a lot of times. I see a lot of people get somewhere and wonder, what do we do next? That's too bad, you know, because if like it's often said, it's either you're preparing the meal or you're part of the meal. You know, somebody has prepared what we're going through today at every point in time.
Now, strategic deep thinking is something I'm taking away from you, which
Yes.
we always advocate that leaders, those who want to be effective leaders, is one of the variables they must possess.
Yes.
But when it comes to public service, as you must know, the relationship between having those characteristics or qualities, being visionary, among other things, and how to use power, leverage on power and authority to deliver on good governance is a totally different ballgame. So with your experience, what's been the missing gap? Why haven't we had a lot more transformational leader with visionary perspectives and also constructive ideas succeeding in public life?
I think it's a couple of factors, if I'm honest. First of all, it's the person himself. What is he bringing to the table? You can't give what you don't have.
True.
All right. So I think you need people with the right qualities and capacity really getting into office. The second thing is the teams they build. No matter how good you are, if you're surrounded by people that have maybe different sets of values or agenda, as it were, it really cuts short your effectiveness as a leader. And I think naturally the culture as well of organizations, if you don't have strong leadership, your best intentions will be eaten, as it were. It says,
what about environmental factors such as the vested interests, the prevailing mindset? Because you have to work with the civil service.
Absolutely.
For instance.
And that's part of leading. You have to work with what you have. Ultimately, 20% of every organization really controls the organization.
True.
As a leader, you have to build a team that is effective, understands your vision, and has the same, values as you have. And I believe that once you empower such people, they're able to make changes. It won't happen overnight, but it's a process for sure. But you need strong leadership. I think that is always what is missing. We need courage. When I mean strong, I mean courage.
Thanks
because a lot of people you have good intentions, but then you're faced with other intentions that are prevalent, that have been there, and you want to make change, you want to solve problems, you want to, make an impact. But you have to remember, sometimes it will be like swimming against the tide. So you need that courage to be able to push through. So it starts with your value system, and then your values, ultimately, they affect your thinking. Your thinking over time, it forms your belief system. Your belief system is where your actions come from, because that's already a subconscious thing. So your actions come from there. When you keep acting the same way over and over again, it becomes your habits, your behavior, as it were. You're known to that. And then when a group of us act the same way, it becomes culture. All right? And then the circle goes round again. And that, the outcome. And that produces the outcome. So you need that strong political will, or let me not say political now, will, in terms of getting things done.
Around here,
yes,
a lot of people who aspire for political leadership in public life, or those who are there already, understand there's a need to be a strong leader. But what we see play out around these days, particularly over the last 2 decades, is people equate forcefulness, being a strong leader, with forcefulness, overt physical aggressiveness, braggadocio. Would that be what you're talking about?
Absolutely not.
Coming up,
you could have power and try and bully everybody into a position. You could also have power and say, I think we ought to go here for XYZ reasons, but those that become rebels, that's also the problem. What I believe is the appropriate style of leadership is one of serving the people. When you go with that style, you more than likely you're trying to force your way over people. You're trying to, if you like, manipulate people. My style is more or less, what are the needs that we see? And then how do we serve the people by meeting those needs? What I mean is that sometimes, and I forget who said this, he said, a good leader will take the people to where they want to go. A great leader will take the people where they ought to go. And so sometimes that presumes that the leader sees faster and sees better than those that they're leading, and further. And so sometimes a leader may have to take a position that those that are being led may not quite understand. I'll give you an example. Power is to raise people up. Power is to lift people, and the way you lift people up is solving their problems, solving their needs, helping them create those platforms they ordinarily may not be able to create by themselves.
Thank you. Perhaps those who tend to use overt forcefulness, physical aggression. I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate now. Perhaps their thinking is that there's already a prevailing mindset, which they probably will be going against and swimming against the tide, as you must have realized now, because that's what you are doing. We'll come to that later. Could be Herculean. So they want to get things done quickly because they're racing against time. They've got just 4 years to do what they got to deliver. And secondly, also because they're mindful of opposition figures, opposition elements, who might just want to be there to throw spanners in their works. Is there a sense in which one could say that this is why those who are overtly aggressive are doing so?
So again, I because I want consensus doesn't mean I shy away from things like discipline or the right things being done. So I think let's put it in context. You could have power and try and bully everybody into a position.
Bully is the word.
Where everybody must do this. Do you understand? But you could also have power and say, I think we ought to go here for XYZ reasons, and try and reach a consensus. But those that become rebels and intentionally no, we're not going to allow, because that's also the problem. A lot of leaders want everybody to like them. Everybody must like you. Sometimes leaders take very tough decisions. We've agreed collectively, the majority have agreed this is what we're going to do. There must be, if you like, towing the line. We must toe this line. So I'm not for indiscipline. I'm not for people becoming unduly rebellious. No, I think that My approach, I am firm.
Yeah.
I carry as many people as I want along, but we will not allow rebels to start to try and sidetrack what we're trying to do.
What some of us in the academia
Sure.
and those who try to study social sciences,
Sure.
one of the things we've identified as the bane of leadership in our climb now,
Sure.
in our climb, is that leaders tend to pursue short-term goals. What can I do today to impress the people?
Sure.
Get them excited,
Sure.
get them titillated. But you are here,
Yes.
and that's why we say you're changing the face of public administration, you're changing the face of politicking, and that's why you deserve a seat on our program.
Thank you very much.
When you started out, you, from the get-go, were manifesting the tenets and tradition of corporate organizations. And initially, some of us were watching and we said, this won't last because our people are not ready for this. What people are ready for is the usual gambling and put the pepper in the stew and let everybody consume and move on.
Yes.
And then gradually we saw like the Hamilton wind, Hamilton fire. You were taking over territories, mental territories now around Afijio area. And so far you've held on to that tradition. How have you been able to do this?
All right. So first of all, it's you need very strong convictions. I'll start with what you said. They're used to something, but where has that something led us to so far?
Nowhere.
You know, and I don't want to deceive myself. I'm here for a season. I want to try and make as much impact as possible. And it is that conviction and strength of will that really pushes me. Now, I've had people say things like, Honorable, you're digital, we are analog. We are analog. And I'm like, I can't keep you in analog. I recognize you're in analog, but I need to help you get to digital. You can't stay in analog. It's not helpful to society. You know, you're becoming a drain on society. You're not adding value to society. So it takes a lot of will. It takes a lot of continuously selling a vision, you know, and sometimes I dissect society and I realize that the younger audience are more teachable. Luckily, the younger audience are the majority. So I do a lot of work in schools. I do a lot of work with young people, you know, because I understand that they want a better future. Some of the older guys are stuck in their ways. So it's almost like I look at my demography and I'm like, I can work more with this sort of people, not excluding the other batch, but
putting this as the trailer head.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say a lot of people have short-term goals, you know, they just want to do something and go. For the cameras, it doesn't last.
No,
you know, and I want to 5 years from now, 10 years from now, come into Afijio and see lives that have really been changed. You know, transformation that has really happened. You know, there are things we're doing now that we know we won't complete at the end of our tenure. But we have laid solid foundations and we are working with a lot of partners that will continue the work. You know, so
that it doesn't look like a political campaign.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I will come in.
Because it's not, for me, it's not about just an activity.
Yeah.
It's about the impact. It's not, you know, I tell my team, I'm not doing it for the cameras. It's not for photo op. I'm doing it so that this guy can see me 10 years from now and say, you gave me the platform. And because of you, I got the opportunity to become who I am today. That is more fulfilling.
Coming up.
They'll say politics is dirty.
But it is dirty.
Politics is a game. It's the players that make it clean or dirty.
One would expect that the next natural progression for you,
Yes,
after your responsibility as PPS,
sure,
would be an executive position in an organization or in government. But here you go, you diverted entirely into lawmaking.
sure.
somebody who's had executive experience, who has been tutored, schooled as it were, in how power and authority can be used to administer public life, going into lawmaking. We couldn't reconcile that. Can you do that for us?
All right. So I felt that for me to understand governance in its entirety,
Okay.
I needed to understand how the legislative arm of government works.
Oh.
I count it as a privilege to have worked so closely with a leading governor, a governor that was, that led well. But I felt as a lawyer, I also somewhat understand how the judiciary works. I felt I needed to go into that so that I could see the full spectrum. And I'm grateful. It gives me a better understanding of governance in its entirety. And it does make me compare which side of government I prefer to be on. There is a lot of advocacy, a lot of talking in the legislative side. There's a lot of doing in the executive side, naturally. And you just kind of have to find which one are you better suited for. And, I think I know better now. And my next moves will show which one I think.
Governance has three, is a tripod.
Yes.
And you are a trained lawyer.
I am a trained lawyer.
Will be finding you in the judiciary someday?
No, I think I've been able to help the judiciary make its case every time we're on the floor of the house.
You're not likely to be found on the bench someday
It's
your quest to have a robust and broad understanding of how governance
I think
works.
my legal career is sufficient to understand the way the judiciary works. When I was thinking of leaving office in 2018 going into 19, I had to have a think that, what are the options? And at the time, I just felt, that was the best decision I could take. Just as we're before an election year, I've also been thinking and praying a lot about my next move. And I believe that what I'm doing or what I will be doing next will be the right thing for me to do as well.
And are you still praying about your next move? By next year, this tenure will expire.
Yes, I think I won't let everything out of the bag, but I think I now have a responsibility to raise younger political leaders. You need an army. You need a critical mass of people with, similar values and competence and character and experience in this system. Having had that exposure, I understand that, like John Maxwell would say, one is too small a number to achieve greatness.
True.
So you need to encourage, demystify the myths that come with people trying to get into the political space. And so that is one of the responsibilities I feel very much strongly about, and I want to do a lot of work in getting young people into office.
So are you contesting next year again?
I will be working with many people contesting.
Will you be contesting?
At this moment, I'm not sure I will be.
All right, let's leave that aside. In politics, you thrive better when you keep your plans under wraps. How can we get more people like you with your kind of value, orientation, mindset, attitude, and devotion? How do we get more of them into that bowl, that space?
I think the first question we'll ask is, why are they not coming in there? And there is a lot that has been said. In the Christian world, they'll say politics is dirty, politics will make you change.
But it is dirty.
Politics will...
But go ahead. It is dirty. It can't be rough.
The fact is that is more or less the reason why we need the right value system working in politics. Politics is a game. It's the players that make it clean or dirty. It's a game. It's it's one. There's one position. There are two persons, and one of them has to get it, and they're both looking for ways to do it. They play politics everywhere. It's dirty here because somebody that cannot have his way wants to carry a gun to make it happen. But primarily...
So politics in itself is neutral.
It's neutral.
It's
the player that... because we have politics in Norway and in Sweden, and we don't hear them picking up guns.
So how do we get more people like you into that space?
So we need to do a lot of advocacy,
Okay.
a lot of education.
Okay.
So we need to really demystify. There's a lot that has been said about politics to keep the gate narrow, to keep it, very narrow for just a certain type of people to come in. And the same type of people continue to perpetuate the same things. They're building the same mindset, they're building the same media, so that the average person thinks, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
And we're getting the same results.
And we're getting the same results. So until we start to clear the air and start to show that actually, I think there is another way. I think we can get in here.
And added to the 3 points you talked about, sensitization,
yes,
advocacy, education.
Sure.
I also want to add showcasing those who are doing it well.
Absolutely.
We should do a lot more of that.
Absolutely.
So that the concept of role modelship.
Exactly. I had a show 2 years ago. I couldn't do it last year. She had a political show. And all I was trying to do was bring in other young politicians. It was non-partisan from different parties. We had different people come on and share their story. And again, these are some of the things I'm doing just to demystify.
So that's like creating a mastermind group.
Yes.
Wow.
Let's demystify this thing. You can get involved. Yes, you've heard so many things before now, but I'm bringing you people that are not just talking, they've walked the talk. They're there in office right now. And when they speak,
the campaign field.
Exactly. When they speak, you can see that these are people just like you, and they're there. So drop this mindset, because it always starts with the mindset.
Yeah.
Some people are defeatists. Some people don't believe, for whatever reason, tradition, culture, religion, they are able to go there. So we need to start to break those biases and those chains in the minds of people.
Thinking like, if you go into politics, you have to be fetish.
Absolutely. Those are things I heard as well. And we experienced
you have to
in
have
some
a killer squad somewhere.
Those are things that we have to, when you tell your story,
You have to lie.
People say, oh really? But that's not what I heard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh really? Okay, if he can do it, it's worth a try. And I believe very strongly that every time we talk about politics, we need to make it clear that not everybody will run for elections. You can get into politics clearly by election, by appointment, and some people are very okay just participating in the parties.
And they are the kingmakers anyway.
Absolutely. But again, we need to get in new sets of players so that we can see new sets of results.
You are a believer in
Yes.
the spirit of man to be an entrepreneur.
Sure.
You think it, you dream it, you smell it almost
Yes.
on a daily basis. You
Yes.
teach it as well.
Yes.
And so I wasn't surprised when you got to the house and you sponsored a bill
Yes.
on entrepreneurship and employability bill.
Yes.
In preparing that bill, are
Yes.
you mindful of the fact that it might end up as another food for the boys? Because it's an entrepreneurship and employability trust fund bill.
Yes.
The lawmaker is not going to manage the funds.
No.
It is the executive arm of government.
Sure.
Such might just be seen as another free fund. How do you want to assure that your intention is protected and preserved?
So I think the law in itself protects itself.
Oh, really?
In the sense of the qualifications and the characteristics of even those that can be appointed into the fund or in the board of the fund. From a lawmaking point of view, we've tried our best to, the person must be a business person, have experience of over 15 years. That's the chairman. We've put all of those things in place because we believe that if those qualifications are adhered to, then the types of people that will be recommended into the board will be people that can deliver. And we hope that the governor part-time will appoint the right board. So I believe in participatory governance, and I believe you need to work with the private sector. So the board is mainly people from private sector, because they understand results, not bureaucracy. And they want to see results. And, the way the fund is set up, we can use empirical data to even measure how many people are being trained part-time.
Yeah.
And, it has a loop in the law whereby when these people get into jobs, they start giving back into the fund so that even more people can participate.
Oh, yes.
So the entrepreneurial side
Yeah.
is to support small businesses. So support could come in training, it could come in funding, could come in, different tooling and so many other things.
Mentorship program.
Yeah, mentorship programs. And the idea is that we want you to survive.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you survive long enough, you have needs of employees.
Naturally.
So the fund knows what you need and then goes into the employability market and starts training people with the hope that they can eventually get some of those trained into your organization.
Okay.
All right. So we're trying to create an eco cycle here, and these are the things that we trust the
you don't have
judgment
power over
of
that.
the executive to do the right
To
thing.
do the right.
If they want to succeed, then we are creating the channels or
It's a
platforms.
fantastic bill, if you ask
to-
me. Very fantastic.
Thank you.
What the society needs right now are skilled entrepreneurs.
Sure.
The opportunities are there,
Absolutely.
and what the average entrepreneur will tell you is unemployability.
Yes.
So you're trying to create employable citizens on
Yes.
one hand, skilled entrepreneurs on the other, and when they
And
come together, it's
absolutely.
going to create an explosion for society.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll keep touch. I mean, we'll keep monitoring things and see
yes.
how things pan out
Yes.
along that noble and laudable direction. Honorable Seyi Adisa,
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure. It's been quite illuminating having this conversation with you.